Hey, Joy, what time is it?
It's time for the Cruise Day Fun Podcast.
That's right. And we've got an exciting topic for you this week. This week, we're going to talk about stateroom selection. So if you're curious about which stateroom to choose, which stateroom to not choose, if you're contemplating for an upcoming cruise, if you've been on a cruise before, if you haven't been on a cruise before, we all need a stateroom. Let's talk about it.
Let's go.
Okay, I guess we're going now. Ooh, okay, so if you have questions, put them in the comments down below. If you've been on cruises before and you have advice and tips of your own to share them again by commenting down below. We are going to share some tips. We're going to share our opinions. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is.
See, we're going now. We are so going. So let's start off by talking about the different stateroom categories. Pros and cons.
Pros and cons.
Okay, you gotta do that for all these? Okay. Pros and cons. Let's start with the smallest, the typical of the typical stateroom. The smallest, usually the least expensive, the inside or interior cabin. What would you say are the pros and cons of the inside cabin or stateroom?
Pros, you save money.
Well, that's a good pro. I like that. You can stop there. Cha-ching.
Two, you get a really good night's sleep because it's really dark.
Yes.
3, you're only using the room to sleep in. Change generally, so you have more time to go explore the ship and see and hang out on the balcony or hang out on the deck, the Lido deck or the different decks.
Any of the decks.
Any of the decks.
Wow. Yeah.
And 4, you'll be having so much fun being everywhere else that you won't mind the inside room.
So I'm canceling our upcoming balcony because you have sold me on the inside. So are there any more pros or do we need to move to cons? Let's go to cons. People can comment below and let us know if we missed anything. What are the cons of the thrifty but small inside stateroom?
It is small.
Oh, okay, that's a con, right?
Yeah. There's no balcony.
No, there's not even a window. Not even
a window
porthole
either. No porthole.
That goes back to what you're saying about how dark it gets at night because it's walls and a door.
It's really dark, so you have to bring your own little night light to move it around in your cabin.
That's a good tip. If you're keeping track at home, there's a tip.
Or you need to turn on the bathroom light and close the door so the little light from the bathroom light goes underneath the door.
Yeah, that works at home, but on a moving ship, that door will probably get closed eventually, and if the ship is moving at any kind of speed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like your little light idea. The little, like we've taken the little tea lights, or we mentioned before that the gift we got that's like the motion light that you can put over by the bathroom.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yes. So, any other cons we should talk about with the interior? You said it's small.
You get really close to the people that you're staying with.
That's a con. You've only sailed with me. You've only shared the interior cabin with me.
Well, I was just thinking for other people.
Offended.
No.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. What about
other people?
Yeah, I understand. So, what about the fact that it is smaller? So, as a result of that, you not only have less room, but there's less room for them to put extra things like maybe a couch.
Yeah.
Or a big desk.
Yeah.
So you sometimes have fewer furnishings or amenities in an inside cabin.
Right.
And we've talked about a lot of times, we've only done inside cabin once, right?
Right. And it was the worst one to do it on an Alaskan cruise.
Yeah, okay, we've explained that before.
Yeah.
But anyway, we mentioned another thing is most of the cruise lines and most of the inside staterooms, you can have the bed together or you're separated. And we just were like, well, we'll have it together. That's just like we normally do it.
Right.
But then what happens is that little tiny aisle that you have down the middle, if you split the beds, becomes half the size on each of the sides of the bed. It's simple math.
Right.
And it makes it real hard to get around, especially if at the end of the bed, like in our cabin, on one side you have a little corner desk, and on the other side you have like like, I forget, some sort of chair, or I
I
forget what
don't
was
do
there,
math.
but you kind of had to squeeze around the ends of the bed. So split the beds.
Split the
if you're going
beds, you get
inside
more
cabin.
room.
So that's the inside cabin. If we miss anything, comment below. Let's move on to the next. Usually slightly bigger, but sometimes about the same size as an inside, but at least you have a window.
Yeah.
It's the ocean view stateroom with either a picture window or a porthole. What are the pros and cons of an ocean view?
You get a picture window or a porthole, so you can see. You can see the water.
Oh, seeing the water.
Yeah.
Okay.
See the port you're cruising up on.
Yeah.
And
that's just if you have a porthole.
Right.
You have to have a sea hole if you want to see the ocean, right?
Right.
I don't think that's why it's called that. Anyway, so the ocean view pro, you got the window.
And sometimes the window has a ledge, so you can put your towel animals there or other miscellaneous stuff that doesn't fit on the counter.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's a pro. What about one of the pros you said for an inside? And keep in mind, we're going to be talking about some other bigger cabins at many here, or staterooms. What about that? It's still cheaper than a lot of other options.
It's still cheaper, exactly.
Save more money. So maybe not. You might pay more than an inside, but
and it can hold more. It can hold like 2 to 3 people.
It depends on the stateroom, depends on the ship, the cruise line, all that. So sometimes a little bigger. I mean, there's some ocean view cabins out there that are actually smaller than some inside cabins. So it's not a hard fast rule, but generally they're about the same size, or the ocean view might be a little larger. So you want to check.
And the other pro is because it's just small, generally small, it forces you to mingle with other people or check out the decks.
Wait, is that a pro or a con?
It's a pro.
Oh, okay. Well, yay, we're meeting new people.
Yeah.
Hey,
you're hanging out on the pool deck or at a bar just
I hope we
drinking.
do that. I hope we do that regardless of what kind of stateroom we have.
That's right.
Okay, so that's pros. I feel like we kind of got our toes into what could be cons. Any cons, other cons that we should talk about, or pros or cons either way?
If you get motion sickness, don't look out the window.
Yeah, well, we've talked about that in the videos and which cabin. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's stick with the cabin types, the stateroom types. I'll use those two terms interchangeably.
Okay.
Depends on the cruise line they use it.
So you have less furniture.
We kind of talked about that. Yep, kind of like the inside. Yep.
And
comment down below if you have any others for the ocean view.
Yeah.
We got to move on to our favorite, or at least the one we've booked the most, and that's the balcony, which is also known as a veranda or a terrace, depending on the cruise line.
That's right.
Or ship you're on. But the balcony cabin or stateroom, what are the pros to the balcony?
The pros to the balcony is you have a balcony.
I like how you're starting these all off with ocean view. You've got a view of the ocean. Balcony room. You got a balcony.
Hey.
Wow. Wait till we get to the suites. You can tell people you get a suite. No, it's not that kind.
No, so it comes with a balcony, and it makes it easy to go out on your balcony, see the ports that are coming in, or not coming in, but going by, or that you're stopping.
You're passing. I hope they're not floating by us. Yes, as you pass by the ports, I understand what you're saying. And you can also see the ocean. Maybe you can see a whale or something.
Or dolphins.
Or seagulls. Yeah. But you could see a lot of that from other places on the ship, like up on the Lido deck, or you can
But this is your own balcony.
Private, right. That's good. What other pros are there to the balcony?
If you like to have coffee in the morning and go out on your balcony, or if you like to have a drink or a cocktail and relax in the evening and see the sunset, that's a great place to see. And you're not surrounded by all these other people that you have to.
You were just saying a few minutes ago that one of the advantages of these smaller cabins is that you'll be forced to go out and be around all these people. Now you just want to. I guess it depends on your preference or your mood that day. Maybe after a long day in port, you're like, I'm glad I got a balcony.
I can sit back and relax on
have
my
a drink on my balcony and not play elbow tag with other people on the Lido deck. Okay,
Exactly.
so also with the balcony, I would say what I was mentioning before about the smaller cabins is the disadvantage is that they can't even fit much furniture in there, and you kind of squeeze and get around. Well, the balconies, you typically are going to have more room. You're typically going to have a little bit more furniture, like you usually have a couch or some sort of chair set up. And
or like a desk.
Yep. And you might even have some things like you might have a little bit bigger TV. You know, obviously you've got the extra space from the balcony.
You may
The
have
bathroom,
a refrigerator.
You may in the smaller cabins too. It is all this is kind of varies, but as a generally speaking, there's going to be some extra space things, and like your bathroom, I was going to say, it may be a little bit bigger. It might have a little bit more room, so you might have more closet space. So
exactly,
you're getting what you pay for. Cons, I think I know what the first one probably is, and that's going to be cha-ching.
It costs more.
It costs more. Yes, as I can attest by looking at our credit card statement.
It costs more, but it's so worth it. You know, it weighs out the costing more.
Okay. Any other cons?
The other con is you can have too much room, because then you can spread out all your paraphernalia.
I think you're pushing it now. How about the reverse of what you said was a pro on the inside, which is that it gets really dark at night. In the balcony cabin, potentially, depending on the ship, and it's usually not lights from land or from the ocean or whatever, the passing ship. It's sometimes the lights from outside the ship or whatever.
Right.
Or if you sleep in or you want to take a nap during the day, we've had problems with like those darn, especially on older ships, those darn curtains don't want to close shut.
Right.
And so it's hard to get a darker room. So you need a blindfold, unless if you're sensitive to light. So that would be an opposite. And
right.
You've talked about a tip. If you have the kind of curtains that come together, you'd share the tip before.
Use your towel clips.
Yeah.
Clip
them together so those pesky curtains stay shut.
That's right.
Let's mention some special categories of cabins just briefly here before we move on. There are some cruise lines that have some ships that have special cabins for solo travelers. Like on Norwegian, they have the studio staterooms, which can be a real nice if you want privacy. Different people that are traveling together can each have their own cabin without paying the special supplement. Or if you are traveling, you're a solo traveler, you can do that. There's also some cruise lines have spa balconies that are located close to spa and have extra what do you call it? Extra
time in the spa where you can go into the pools.
Right. I was thinking like the perks that go with the room. Like you maybe have better bathroom products and stuff like that. Maybe have a better bedspread.
Bedspread. Just kidding.
You making fun of the old man here? Old man in. You get a nice bedspread and a spa balcony. Spa stateroom. There's also some family cabins of various types of balconies, whatever, right. Which I don't just mean, hey, the family can go, because that generally applies if it's a big enough cabin. But there's some cruise lines
out on the balcony. Yeah.
No. So there's some cruise lines, like I know on some Carnival ships, they've got I think it's called Family Harbor Suites.
Yeah, where they have connecting balconies.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about they are near, kind of like with the studio staterooms on Norwegian, where they have that studio lounge nearby.
Right.
They've got a family lounge nearby for the family. Man. Yeah. So there's some special, in another one, there's a bunch. There's the Havana ones, which have kind of a cabana style on some of the newer Norwegian Carnival ships. Carnival. Like on Mardi Gras. They were very cool. I was tempted by those. I was like, ooh, I kind of wish we'd gotten those, because you not only get the Havana cabana rooms.
Oh, that was such a fun bar to hang out in.
Yes, well, that's where it's going, because you're near the bar, which anyone on the ship can go to, but they also have out on deck a separate Havana bar that's outside that only the people staying in the Havana cabanas can go to, and they have their own pool. So nice. Some perks there. Other special categories, the cove balconies, where it's more of a cutout in the steel on the side of the ship, like on some of the Disney,
Disney they're so cool.
Magic and Wonder, I think.
They're very hard to get.
Yeah, there's not a lot of them on the ships usually. Some ships don't have them at all. And then there's the infinite balconies, like on Celebrity. And there's also Yeah, where the
window
window goes
that
halfway down.
becomes a deck.
Yep. And virtual balconies where you have a video screen. It's actually an inside stateroom, but you have a big, basically a TV screen that looks like you have a view outside. It looks like you have a balcony or at least a window outside because it's projecting an image from outside the ship into
Yeah, it's
your
really
own.
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice compromise between the less expensive and the balconies.
I would
And then
say we should try that sometime.
maybe we will. And also, of course, there's special suites and like concierge type
Ooh la la.
ones like the
Concierge.
Haven on NCL and so forth. So, okay, we got a lot more to share here. Hopefully you're liking this. If you are liking this, hit the thumbs up icon below. It really helps us out. We appreciate it. It helps other people find our videos. And
That's right.
hey, let's have more join the party as we continue to talk about staterooms. Next up, let's talk about stateroom locations.
Yes.
Where's good and bad places for your stateroom? You want to start, and then I'll jump in and share some ideas of where on the ship would be a good versus a bad place for your stateroom.
If you get seasick
Mhm.
really easily, the middle is the most stable part of the ship.
Mhm.
So I would say the middle or lower decks
Right.
is good place so you don't get as motion sickness.
Yeah, that's a good tip, and we share that a lot. Think of the ship as like being on a seesaw, and one end where one person would sit on the seesaw is the front, and the other end is the back. When the ship really moves, the person on the front and the back, where you normally would sit on a seesaw, are going to move up and down a lot. But if somebody, you as a sitter, you put your little kitty cat or your dog on the middle with the part where it actually rests on the structure, that part barely moves. So using that principle, this has been Science with Dan. You'll be better off in the middle. And also, like you said, being on lower deck is usually you're going to feel the motion less too.
You won't get sick.
Yeah. Any other suggestions for locations on the ship? Cabins to avoid, or cabins that
I would say
good?
If you want a view,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you don't get an obstructive view.
Oh yeah. And one way, yeah.
Because otherwise you get an obstructive view and you're thinking you'll only see half of the window.
Yeah.
But it's actually then you get an obstructive view, and that's the lifeboat in front of you.
Right. And that's a common obstruction is the lifeboats.
Mm-hmm.
Being someone that went to Boston Garden back in the day when it was the old school Boston Garden, and there were a lot of pillars and support pieces. Going to my first concert there, I was like, okay, my chair has a great view of this big metal girder. Awesome. Where's the band? Where's the band? And you can have the same thing happen with an obstructed balcony or an ocean view cabin.
Yeah.
Typically, if you work with the travel agent or if you carefully check the location on the ship, you can avoid that. But if you choose to let the cruise line pick your specific room, they have different names for it, but you can save some money by letting them choose your balcony or your ocean view stateroom.
Yeah.
You might end up unknowingly assigned in a beautiful balcony or ocean view with a view of a nice orange, yellow, red lifeboat.
Right.
Yeah. So not ideal. So that would be a good stateroom to avoid.
The other one is try not to be across the hall from the garbage or the trash room because it's really stinky.
What are you talking about? What ship are you sailing on? You talking about the garbage barge you went on at one time? You're digging deep here. You're digging deep. Okay.
And the other thing is you want to stay away from like nightclubs and because it's really noisy areas very popular areas you want to avoid.
Yeah. We booked a cruise last minute. Was it last year? And it was a last minute cruise, so we didn't really have any choice. In order to get the type of cabin we wanted,
right,
we had to be directly above the comedy club.
Yeah.
And you were more. I'm tend to go to bed early, and you tend to be more of a what do you call it? A night owl. You actually, I think you went to that comedy show, and I was in the room, and I wasn't going to bed yet, but I was kind of winding down. I had the TV off. I was just there reading or whatever, and then I heard, what was it? "Wannabe" by the Spice Girls playing really loud below our floor, and then I heard on a PA system, somebody announcing a comedian, and then I heard applause and laughter for the next half hour, 45 minutes. It was awesome. And on our first cruise, I didn't know what I was doing. I booked us a room directly below the Lido deck, so we heard the sounds of the chairs moving,
scraping,
especially first thing in the morning when they're setting
running,
them up. Yep.
Which they shouldn't run.
Avoid the public areas next to your stateroom, above your stateroom, or below your stateroom. It's best to be on a deck in a room below other staterooms and above other staterooms.
Exactly.
You might think, I want to be, we could be on deck 9 and we'll be right below the Lido deck, or be on deck 7 and we'll be right above where all the cool restaurants are. But there's a payoff. There's a trade-off.
A payoff? Yeah.
No, I misspoke. Calm down now. Okay, so any other pros or cons? How about if I share one that I'm surprised you didn't come up with? As far as a stateroom location goes, we really like it on ships where it's available for a reasonable price to get an aft balcony.
Yeah.
Amazing view, right?
Right, and you can watch you
can do that. You can watch the pier runners. I know that's what you're going to say. You can do that from a lot of balconies, depending on how the ship is in port. But the view of the wake is so relaxing in the morning, during the day, and after dark when it's just quiet and you just barely see the wake in the little bit of light coming from the ship, and just hear that sound. Very soothing. I really enjoy that. And usually the balconies on the ships, at least on Carnival when we've gotten those, tend to be larger. So that's a good location. Other locations, people have asked before if you should avoid a cabin close to the elevators. And in our experience, they're usually the elevators are separated enough from the actual corridor that the staterooms are in. Our last Disney cruise, we were just a couple doors down from where you enter to go into the
It was actually
area.
Nice.
It was very convenient, and you might get a little bit more foot traffic with people going down the hall towards their staterooms. But I think that as opposed to being above or below a public venue, I think being near the elevators works out pretty well.
Yeah.
So, any other stateroom locations, suggestions, pros, cons, tips? I'm sure we're forgetting something. So comment down below and let us know your favorite stateroom location, or if you ever had an experience like we had where you picked a stateroom that just wasn't great. Yeah.
Leave the comments below.
Yeah, do that. And also, if you're really if you picked out a cabin you think you want, or a stateroom, you picked out the specific room, you're like, I want room 7345
or 007.
Okay, let's pick one number and stick with it. I don't think many ships have a 007 for a stateroom number. 7345. You picked it out. You've booked it, or you're thinking of booking it, and you're going, I hope this isn't one of those obstructed view ones that Joy was talking about, or I hope this isn't one where people say like, oh, the mini fridge doesn't work. There's websites you can go to learn about specific rooms. Cruiseline.com, who's also has the Shipmate app, allows people to put up reviews of the specific rooms by room number and post photos. So go there. Not every stateroom on every ship is going to have photos, and not everyone's even going to have reviews, but a lot of them do, and it can be very helpful. That's one site, and then I think the other one's cruisedeckplans.com. So that's got some,
or Shipmates.
Yeah, Shipmate app. Yep, that's what I use probably the most.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So let's move on. Let's move on to some thoughts about staterooms and we kind of touched on this, but by cruise line. Okay. So pick a cruise line. Of the cruise lines we've been on, what should we start with? You want to start with?
Let's start with Carnival.
Carnival. We're going alphabetical, I think.
Yeah.
Carnival. So any specific thoughts? I kind of just mentioned about the aft balconies, which can apply to other cruise lines, but on Carnival, they don't cost much more.
No, and we've always had pretty good luck with Carnival. I mean, we've never gotten sick.
Well, we're talking about the stateroom.
Motion sick.
Okay. Oh, you're talking about the stateroom. Okay, we're talking about the stateroom still, but you're talking motion sickness, even being an aft cabin, still don't get motion sick. So that's
right. And when we've had like a side balcony, it still is really good.
Okay.
And when the time that um, I've always liked our rooms, you know.
Hmm. Okay. Well, again, talking about Carnival, the older ships, the more recent ships, I should say, the Excel class ships, the Mardi Gras, the Carnival Celebration, Carnival Jubilee, these ships have a more modern look and they have more outlets and USB ports.
That's really nice.
We really liked sailing on Mardi Gras, and the balcony cabin we had, which, well, it was a side cabin, it wasn't an aft, but it was it was decorated really nicely. It had a huge flat screen TV.
And
But my point I'm trying to get to is on the older ships, a lot of times you've got one outlet in the main room and you have no USB ports. So if you need to plug something in, like if you have a CPAP machine or you want to charge more than one phone, you need to plan ahead. And as of last I checked, Carnival still does not allow power strips, but you can take a basic extension cord, as long as it doesn't have the little button for surge protection. Those are typically allowed. Take that, so you're prepared for the one outlet you're going to find on a lot of these old ships. And this applies to other cruise lines too, but since we've sailed on Carnival a lot, you got to say that I've noticed that's pretty common on most of the ship. Yeah.
And some of the newer ships are so nice that it doesn't feel like you're on a cruise ship. It feels like you're just at a mall, you know, enjoying everything, going to restaurants, shopping.
Especially on these big Oasis class ships on Royal Caribbean, it's like those indoor neighborhoods. You do feel like you're in a mall or something.
But they're so big that you don't even feel the ship moving unless you're out on the balcony or out on the decks, you know, the Lido deck, and you can see the ship moving by the land. Okay,
let's stay focused on staterooms now.
Yep.
But you do raise a good point. And as these ships move to, they have the stabilizers, and they have the liquefied gas instead of the diesel, which creates a lot less pollution, which again should not affect your stateroom either way.
Don't light a match.
Yes, again, for Carnival staterooms, check, book beforehand. Keep in mind what we said before about if you let them choose your stateroom, it could have an obstructed view.
Yeah.
But we recommend the aft balconies. And if you really want to have a special balcony experience on some of the classes of ships, on several classes of Carnival ships, like Carnival Liberty, for example, they have these premium, I think they call them premium Vista balconies. And there's only, on a lot of these ships, they only have like 6 of them. But it's a corner balcony, and it's not at the normal shape room. With the shape's a little different. The furnishings are slightly different. The bathroom's usually a different spot.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's got a huge balcony that is not only on the back of the ship, but it wraps around the side of your room
it's
to the side.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's a nice thing with Carnival.
Yeah.
So let's move on to another cruise line. What do you want? Alphabetically, I guess Disney would be next. What can
Disney.
you say about Disney? And they don't call their balcony rooms, they call them verandas.
Verandas. Okay.
Verandas. So what should people know, and what tips do you have about Disney staterooms?
Disney staterooms, what we encountered was they have 2 bathrooms. One with a sink and a toilet, and the other with a sink and a shower.
Right, so like a split bathroom.
So I usually give him get the shower.
Yeah, the shower with the little half tub, and I get the one with the toilet. So I put my toiletries in there and have some air freshener in there with me when I'm brushing my teeth, and she gets to go brush her teeth in there with the nice shower. Anyway, it's a split bathroom. It's not all the staterooms on Disney have that, but it's a nice feature that I think you'll find in most of the staterooms on Disney.
And it's really great for families getting ready for dinner. And then they also have a really nice curtain that separates the little couch area and your bed.
Let's be careful here. We're describing a veranda room, so like an inside room may not have that. But for a veranda room, which the Disney ships have a lot of verandas, it's very popular to have the room with a balcony.
Yeah.
You're describing, it's a curtain, and we've seen this on another cruise line. where they
can't
had a
remember what
curtain,
cruise
but
line.
it didn't actually, it was just decorative. You couldn't pull it across the room.
Right.
The Disney ships we've been on, Disney Dream and Disney Wish, you could pull the curtain, you could have it anchored back against the wall, or you could pull it across the room, and it was heavy enough that you could have lights on one side of the room with the couch or the side with a bed, and it could be dark on the other side.
Right.
So
yeah.
it was great if one of us wanted to sleep, the other one wanted to read or whatever.
Mhm.
That's a real nice touch.
That is really nice.
Mhm.
I think they were very thoughtful on that.
Yeah.
So,
And again,
if
balcony
you know
rooms.
of another cruise ship that has a curtain in the room, comment down below,
We
please.
gotta know. Yeah. So also, like I mentioned before, if you want a cove balcony, which is more of an enclosed balcony,
Those
a
are
couple
really
of the Disney
cool.
ships have those. Right.
They're hard to get though.
No, there's not that many of them.
I know.
So anything else on Disney, or should we move on to
Disney does wonderful decorating in the
Mhm.
staterooms, and you can there's so many hidden Mickeys, and it's kind of a challenge to see how many Mickeys you can find in your stateroom.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and some of the pictures on
Mhm.
the in our one of our suites that
Suites,
they had
staterooms. Yeah.
staterooms,
Yeah.
they had the way that the paintings looked like there was lights on the painting, but it was just the reflection of the light.
That was cool.
It was
Yeah,
so
we actually,
cool.
yeah, that was on Disney Wish, I think. And
I
the
think so,
painting, I
yeah.
think it was like from The Princess and the Frog, or was inspired by that movie, I think, because it was
Mhm.
like kind of like a what do they call it, like a swamp area, and it had like little like fireflies in it that looked like,
Right.
I was like, there's lights in this painting. I can't believe it. And you're like, no, it's just the light reflecting. I was like, no, I think it's lights. And then you dim the lights, and I was like, okay, you're right. But it's a very cool effect. So they
It
think about
is.
all the touches. So I think that applies. That's true about Disney cruises in general. They think about the little touches. You're going to pay a little bit more than the other cruise lines that we're mentioning here, but you know what? You get what you pay for. So they do a great job. Should we move on? One more?
One more for
One more.
Disney
Okay.
is that you can get Mickey ice cream bars from
That's
room
not
service.
that's not stateroom specific.
But it's
You order it in your stateroom. It's room service. So
Yeah.
let's talk about room service for all these cruise lines. Then let's move on to Norwegian. What should people know about Norwegian Cruise Line and the staterooms, on their pros and cons, and any tips?
Well, I really like Norwegian, but we did get a stateroom one time
Mhm.
with Norwegian, an inside room, and we did it to save a little money, but we
Mhm.
were on an Alaskan cruise, and
Right.
we were just kicking ourselves because that would have been a great time to get a balcony to watch all the animals go by, the scenery go by,
Mhm.
look for ice.
Yeah, look for that glacier ice, not the ice in the drinks in the room. Yeah,
Right.
that's one of the things about, just like anything else in life, cruising for a while, you start to realize that you're making some of the mistakes that you need to warn other people about, or at least
Right.
let people know so they're aware. Having a room near a public, or above or below a public area, is one thing, but in having an inside cabin, we were traveling with a group of, I think we had 3 cabins between us, and we thought we'd be out of the room most of the time, and we were, but it was a tight space to be in, and we had to go on public deck anytime we want to see something going on. So we'd
Right.
find out that we're going by something very scenic, we're like, oh, we got to get out of the room quick, let's go. So yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, that's not, I don't know if that's Norwegian specific, but it was for us. So next time we do an Alaskan cruise, we're getting a balcony.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Other things about Norwegian, I would say, is at least the ships we've been on, Norwegian really does a good job with decorating and refurbishing and keeping the ships kind of looking current, at least for the staterooms.
Right. They have wonderful bars. I really like their bars.
Okay, we're talking about staterooms.
Oh,
you keep trying to change the topic to food and drink.
Yeah.
They have this, what they call sail away cabins, which is the concept I mentioned earlier, where you can save some money by booking a cruise and saying, just give me a balcony, just give me an interior, just you pick the type, and then they assign you to wherever they have left.
Mm-hmm.
But if you care about a view, see, they care. If you care about the view, if you can have a balcony or an ocean view, you might get an obstructive view if you save a little money doing that sail away. So keep that in mind. The other thing I'll say about Norwegian and their staterooms, and this is something that you probably didn't deal with as much. But when you book the cruise, the thing that they do is they'll send out, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months before the cruise, they'll send out an offer for you to bid on an upgrade to a suite or whatever. You get a variety of choices, and there's a minimum bid you can put in, and then you wait and see. Perhaps up until the last minute, right before the day of the cruise, they can tell you, hey, you get to be in the Haven now. And I did bid, and we didn't get it. So I didn't bid enough, and I think we did fine otherwise. But doing that, the downside of doing that was, aside, like I said, you don't necessarily find out until the last minute, is if you're trying to upgrade into something that has a lot of perks like the Haven does, where you get the Haven restaurant and you get other things that you wouldn't have to pay for in a balcony, say, you don't know what to do as far as booking specialty dining and all this other stuff, getting room gifts like drink, beverages, and snacks for the balcony. So it kind of puts you in a position like, should I be doing that? Or maybe we'll get the deal. So I don't know. I just didn't like the uncertainty of it. And, it's smart of them to do that, because then they're getting the most money, and people have a chance to pay less than it would have been booking a suite or whatever straight up.
Right.
Yep. Anything else on Norwegian?
I love Norwegian. They have excellent service.
We've been on a lot of cruise lines we love. So, and we're going to be going on Celebrity soon. And we're going to be going back on Royal Caribbean again soon, which we haven't been on Royal Caribbean in a while. It was the last cruise line we went on before the big shutdown. And we had a cruise we were going to go on with Royal Caribbean after it, and for unrelated reasons, we didn't. I'm not doing that one, but we're finally getting back on there. We're going to be going on Allure of the Sea, so one of those Oasis class. Let's talk about the Royal Caribbean staterooms. Pros, cons, any thoughts on that, tips?
I can't remember because it was so...
You want me to go then?
Yes, go
okay.
then.
So the ship we were on that time was Mariner of the Seas.
Oh, yeah.
And at least, and this is again in 2020, but at least at the time, the room was pretty dated. One thing I like about the room, though, is the bed has those curved corners at the end. The mattress does. So I think they even have a name for it. It's like the Royal Caribbean mattress, or the Royal mattress or something. But it's kind of a nice, even it was a balcony, decent sized balcony, but it was nice to have a little extra space as you're walking around the bed to have it curved. Now, if you're really, really tall, you might miss that extra space on the mattress, but it's just on the corners. The other thing that we had happen was, and this probably happens on some other classes of ships, or at least other ships within the same class, but we got in there and there was this loud music playing, and we're like, where is that coming from? How do we turn that off? And it was weird because it wasn't like the same music that was playing in the corridor or anything. And I was looking around, and I finally found like a little old school dial, like volume dial, underneath the like desk area. And so I dialed it down thinking I was going to solve the problem. What a genius. And nothing happened. But we finally, I think you mentioned, or I mentioned to the stateroom attendant, and they're like, oh, I'll take care of it. And after, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, it got turned off.
Oh, yeah.
And I mentioned this, this sounds like it could be just some weird quirk with our room, but I mentioned this, but then I forget who it was, but another channel that we listen to, or that we're friends with or watch, mentioned the same issue. And I think it was on Mariner, but it might have been a different ship. So it's just kind of one of the little quirks. And then two other things to mention about Royal Caribbean, and you can jump in if you have others. But two things is, on a lot of their ships, the Oasis class ships, and then ships like the Mariner of the Seas, they have balconies that face the ocean, like most traditional cruise ships, but they also have balconies that face indoors, which is a really different concept.
Yeah.
So be sure you know what you're getting when you're booking it. Maybe you want a balcony that's facing the Royal Promenade or Central Park or the boardwalk area, but it's going to be a different experience and a different view, obviously, than being able to watch the ocean or being able to watch the ports float by, I think, as you said. So that's another thing to know. And one more thing I'll say about, and this is our experience on Royal Caribbean, and this has been on other ships too. I think we experienced this with Disney. Watch if you're doing your own booking, if you're not using a travel agent, or you ask your travel agent about this, look at the deck plan. If you're getting a balcony, look for what they call a hump balcony.
Oh yeah.
Because some of these ships have these modern designs where it's not just a flat, straight side. It actually kind of curves out at certain points. It kind of bubbles out. And the balconies that happen to be
on
on the humps, have the advantage of having at least a kind of an extra view, because if you get it towards the front or the back of the hump, you're going to have sort of an angled view, so you'll be able to look forward or back easier, as well as to the side of the ship.
Right.
But also a lot of times the room will have, or the balcony itself will have, a little extra space.
Right.
Usually the same price as the ones right next to it that just are standard balconies.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else on Royal Caribbean?
I think I had a fun time.
Okay.
I remember having a fun time.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to going back. We got a lot of cruises in our future. We hope you do too.
Right.
And also, if you want more information about cruising in general and you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. It's just a way to follow us. Just click the subscribe button down below, and you'll be able to see our future videos. We'd hate for you to lose track of us, because we enjoy having you with us here on our podcast or watching our regular day-to-day cruise day fun videos.
That's right.
So now let's talk about some general stateroom tips, and I might recap a couple. So feel free if you need to emphasize things we mentioned before. But what tips do you have for just staterooms in general? What should people know about their staterooms? What can help them?
So, staterooms, no matter what size your stateroom is, always bring like an air freshener.
Oh yeah,
because there's
for Dan's toilet split bathroom on the Disney ship.
I did not say that.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking.
No, but sometimes there's not a lot of airflow, so you just need to freshen your room up.
Right. I think that's a good tip, regardless of the cruise line or the type of room you've selected. The air can get stale, and also there can be unpleasant smells that can come in through the other bathrooms or through whatever. So without getting into it too much, the bathrooms, toilets and such on a cruise ship work differently than they do on land. So sometimes, you can get some residual smell. And if you're in an ocean view cabin, it's not like you can just, open the door and get some fresh air.
Right.
You can't swing open the door or open the windows like you could at home. So a little spray. You've gotten the non-aerosol sprays, so that comes really handy.
And also, don't be afraid to ask your steward or go to customer service if you need more towels or blankets, because sometimes it does get cold in the room sometimes. And like for me, I like to have a lot of pillows and blankets on me. So. Yep.
And you like to have what you want. And it's good to get that established right up front. Usually what happens is you'll meet your room steward the day you board. When you're first in your room, you're waiting for your luggage, or you're getting ready to go to dinner, and there'll be a knock at the door, and they might ask you when you want your room to be, to cleaned, morning, evening, whatever. And that's a great time to let them know right up front. Yeah. Also, can you bring extra towels? I like to let the room steward know that first night that I like to have a bucket of ice in the room. So if you tell them that, generally what's going to happen with an attentive room steward, which is usually what we have, come back from dinner, the room's all made up, and there's a nice fresh bucket of ice, so I can, have a drink in the evening, a Diet Coke or something more fun.
Yeah,
it's good to have. So just let them know what you want. It's just like when you go to the main dining room, you let your server know what your tastes are, what you prefer.
I don't like broccoli. Never bring me
We're
broccoli.
talking about staterooms, so that's a good tip. Other tips that we've mentioned. Don't take, it varies by cruise line, but generally you're not going to be able to take a power strip. In fact, some cruise lines might not even allow an extension cord, so double check. But if you can, take an extension cord, because a lot of times, especially on older ships, there's one outlet in the room, or the outlet's really far from where you might need it. Yep. What you mentioned about the inside cabins, bring a little light if you want some light in the room, because it's going to get travel lights, it is going to be as dark as any darkness you've ever seen. Dark, dark, dark.
As dark as a bat cave. Dark.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like there's some other tips we could throw out here, but let's kind of sum up with any final tips and thoughts on staterooms. I'll start with, hey, if you found this helpful, we appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up and all the good stuff. But if you have more questions, you can put them in the comments. But getting a travel agent. I like how you're pointing as I'm moving on to the next concept. Getting a travel agent is a great way to have help with all these things we're talking about. The way it works, unlike some other services a travel agent or travel advisor might provide, the cruise lines pay the travel agent, and so you're not paying extra. You have a travel agent help you. If you find a good travel agent, do that, and they can sometimes get you even better deals or maybe some onboard credit too. So yeah, that can come in really handy with getting a good stateroom. And anything else? I know we've been going for a while, but yeah.
You can also pre-order like drinks or beverages or food even, and if you want to surprise anyone in your group with special decorations like happy birthday, happy anniversary, happy sailing,
happy, joy. Yeah. So our very first cruise was our honeymoon cruise.
Yeah.
And I somehow managed to find out that I could get happy honeymoon decorations put up in the room, and she really appreciated that.
When I saw it, I just started crying.
She cried a lot during that cruise, but it wasn't my fault. So every once in a while, we'll do the decorations again. We always order bottled water for our room. You can order cakes, you can order cookies, you can order fruit, you can order souvenirs. You can order beverages. Yeah. So we're going to be doing some videos soon where we talk about, because I've got a lot of questions about, well, you said I could order water for that cruise, but I can't figure out where I'm supposed to do that. And I agree that it can be confusing on how you do that. So we're gonna cover that here real soon.
Yep.
So keep an eye for that. And if you're not subscribed, you're gonna miss out on that. So be sure you're subscribed.
Subscribe.
Anything else we need to say?
Thanks for watching.
That's the end. We hope the stateroom information was helpful. We'll be back with another Cruise Day Fun podcast really soon. We hope you enjoyed it. And what's the final thing you're going to say? You're going to go with the same thing?
Be kind and thanks for watching.
You got a bonus there. Not just thanks for watching. Be kind.
Yeah.
I like it.
I do too. Fun, fun, fun for Cruise Day Fun. Fun, fun, fun for Cruise Day Fun podcast.